Hello, welcome to the video. Today I'm doing a video that goes along with Yahweh Yahushua webpage I've been working on for the last few weeks. So I'm doing this relationship video to go along with it. We've got a few things. Firstly, I want to touch on a part that I never touched on earlier in the share that's going to be above this video. And if you just give me a moment, I've just got to track it back down again. So I'm actually reading from, give me a moment, I'm reading from I'll just search it then. I did have it listed, but it's not up there now. Okay, so I'm at I'm at Yashayahu, which you probably know as the word Isaiah, but yeah. Anyway, Yeshayahu is the Hebrew form of a word, I guess. So we're reading from chapter 3 in Yeshayahu, and from verses 16 through to, so that's what I forgot, 16 through to, give me a moment, I'll have to, here we are. Yeah, so Yashayahu number 3, 16 to 4:1 we're going to be reading. And this is to go along with what I didn't actually share before. This is about the account of the wrong way to go for a woman. Firstly, before we get into, I guess, the relationship video that I'm making this about, but this is sort of the wrong ways to act. So starting at verse 16, and Yahweh says, "On account of the fact that the daughters of Discern are arrogant, and walk stretching out their necks, and walking blinking contishly, even skipping as they walk, and jiggling ornaments on their ankles. So my sovereign shall humiliate them, he shall scrape the scalp." There's a footnote 8 I'll read after this. "Of the daughters of Discern, and Yahweh shall reveal their schemes, he will leave destitute their socket." So, and it's got 3 footnotes to that verse. So the first footnote is footnote 8. It says, "The shaving of the heads of the widows to change their authority in order to remarry them is found in Deuteronomy 21:12. And the other 2, lay bare by empty vacate. And 10, King James Version renders this secret parts, NIV scalps, but the lexicon says a strong 6596 socket, hinge, and a hole, apparently referring to female genitalia. So anyway, back at verse 18. "On that day my sovereign will take away their prestigious finery, the bangles, the braids, and the crescents, the pendants, and the bracelets, and the veils, the headdresses, and the ankle chains, and the sashes, and the perfume bottles, and the amulets, the signet rings, and the nose rings, the stately robes, and the capes, and the cloaks, and the purses, even the mirrors, and the liners, and tiaras, and the shawls. So instead of a sweet fragrance, there shall be a rotting stench, and instead of a sash, you will have a teva, and instead of well-dressed hairdos, you will have baldness due to your works, and instead of a rich, expensive robe, you will wrap yourself in sackcloth, branding instead of beauty. Your males shall fall by the sword, and your valiant men shall fall in the battle. So her openings shall lament, and they will mourn, and being cleared of guilt on the land she will settle." Chapter 4 verse 1, "And 7 women will grab hold of one man in that day, saying, we will eat our own food, and we will wear our own clothing. Just let your name be called upon us, remove our reproach." So that was to go along with the message, but what we wanted to get to is touching on the message and the subject of wives and husbands, and how they are to act towards each other and under the Father, and ways a woman was to act and do things according to what he told us. But what I wanted to touch on now was actually I wanted to go to actually wanted to read a little bit from the book that I've been reading. That's it's actually called Love and Respect. The love she most desires, the respect he most needs. This is a book by Emerson. Today's male, because the culture has told him it isn't right to express feelings of being disrespected, and if he dared to do so, his wife would not accept it, because to her he would sound arrogant. Another thing that may stop a man from voicing his need for respect is hearing from his wife, "You don't deserve my respect," with his vocabulary rejected as archaic and his attitude criticised as arrogant. It doesn't take long for a male to file away his essential need for respect in a compartment labelled "Do not bring up," and it will stay. But if another woman admires him, then look out. As one wife shared about her husband strayed into an affair, "I realised that my husband had cheated with this woman, not because of her looks, of her personality, or because she was anything so great, but rather because she was his captive audience. She thought he hung the moon. Every remark he made to her was witty, everything he did was perfect. In her eyes he was the most handsome, intelligent, funny man in the world. He needed an ego boost, and she was ready and willing to be that for him. I love and respect the same things. There are many wives who tell me, respect and love are the same thing. I respond, no they aren't. And you know they aren't. For instance, you respect your boss, you don't love your boss. I've been in counselling sessions with couples, and with her mate sitting there listening. The wife will readily say, I love my husband, but don't feel any respect for him. But when I turn this around and ask the wives how they would feel if they would hear their husband say, I respect you, but don't love you, they are horrified. They exclaim, I would be devastated. I asked one wife, how long would it take you to get over that? She quickly answered, forever. The typical wife would be up in arms if she heard, I respect you, but don't love you. That is taboo. She would view her husband as a very unloving human being. Yet this same wife feels she can readily say to him, I love you, but don't respect you. What she doesn't understand is why her husband is equally devastated by her comment, and it also takes him forever to get over it. The bottom line is that husbands and wives have needs that are truly equal. She needs unconditional love, and he needs unconditional respect. All this should be obvious, right? Almost every time Sarah and I teach our seminar about the love and respect connection, people tell us, why of course this is so obvious, and then either the husband or the wife adds, but why doesn't my spouse get it? Whenever it's a husband or a wife who doesn't get it, the answer is the same. We often don't see the obvious. A door-to-door salesman rang the bell and waited. A boy who looked around 10 years old answered. He was smoking the biggest cigar the salesman had ever seen. After a few seconds of stunned silence on the salesman's part, he finally asked, Is your mother home? The 10-year-old puffed a couple of times, blew smoke in the salesman's face and said, What do you think? And that's the point. If the salesman had been thinking at all, he would have known that the mother wasn't at home. But for some reason we don't always think, particularly when something is shocking or distracting. When a wife feels unloved, it can be such a shock to her heart that she is oblivious to her disrespectful reactions towards her husband. Though any man watching could see it plainly, when a husband feels disrespected, it can provoke him so quickly he doesn't see his unloving reactions, which would be obvious to any woman. Words of wisdom for all husbands and wives are these. We easily see what is done to us before we see what we are doing to our mate. So that was, we easily see what is done to us before we see what we are doing to our mate. When sorting out how to slow down the crazy cycle, it helps to remember that men are commanded to love because they don't love naturally. And on the other side, women are commanded to respect because they don't respect naturally. If the love and respect connection to make sense and work in a marriage, The wife in particular must conquer any feelings about her husband's needing to earn her respect. I have counselled many wives who love to love, but they do not love to respect. When these women feel unloved, often they will try to improve the situation with even more love. That's natural, but when these women feel unloved, it is hard for them to show respect. That's unnatural. They act disrespectfully, but they don't really want to. They are merely reacting to their built-in feelings. Not realising how contemptuous she sounds, a wife might say, "He's blowing this respect thing out of proportion. He's too sensitive. My scolding and sour looks stay. That's who I am at times. He needs to get over it. This is his problem." But of course it isn't his problem. It's their problem. How would this wife feel if her husband would say, "You're blowing this love thing out of proportion. You're just too sensitive. You're always telling me I'm too harsh. You need to get over it." Husbands, of course, also have their work cut out for them. Because they are feeling disrespected, they can lose sight of the heart of their wives. It is easy to lose fond feelings of affection in the face of what appears to be contempt. But is her call to emasculate you? Not if she is good-willed. Even if she is unfairly nasty, this is no excuse for a man of honour to refuse to obey Yahweh's command, to love his wife. I believe the men who are reading this book are men of honour, and my appeal to them is, love your wife always. Try to see what is in her deepest heart. If a husband has any honour and goodwill at all, he must step up to the plate and start figuring out their business of being loved, and he must conquer any fears he may have of her contempt. Her criticisms may not be contempt at all. They are simply her way of crying, "Please love me." When a husband can get tired, they cry and respond to his wife with understanding and love. He will experience the joy of a fair and balanced approach to marriage. Okay, yeah, so I'll leave it there. So that's wanted to touch on that for you. What I wanted to touch on was I wanted to touch on the basically the love and respect there, and I also wanted to touch on a little bit into this Ephesians. And also I want to also go and have a look at, there's another verse that I was reading while I was sharing. And I also want to go have a look at 1 Corinthians 11:3 as well, so I can add this to there. So anyway, to the Ephesians, which is chapter 5, verses 22. Wives, submit yourself to your own husband, as unto our sovereign, because the husband is the head of the woman, as also the anointed one is head of the convocation, and he is the body deliverer. Nevertheless, even as the convocation is subjected to the anointed, thus also the women are to their own husbands in everything. And it says, see warning against end-time female haughtiness, which is what I shared at the start of this video from Yeshayahu, number 3, 16 to 4:1. Husbands, effectually love your own wives, but as also the anointed one effectually loved the convocation and gave himself over for her, in order that he might purify her, having cleansed her by the washing of the water in the word. Also seen in Yohanan's Glad Tidings 15:3, which is John 15:3. In order, verses 27, in order that he might stand her the convocation beside to himself in honour, not having spot or wrinkle or any of such things, instead in order that it may be pure and unblemished. Thus ought those husbands to effectually love their own women as their own bodies. For he who effectually loves his own woman loves himself. For no one ever hates his own body, rather nourishes and cherishes it, just as also the anointed one, the convocation, because we are members of his body, from his flesh and from his bones. That's also seen in 1 Moshe verses 2:23, which you might know as Genesis. Continuing on at verse 31. On account of this shall a man forsake his father and his mother, and he shall join with his woman, and they will be for a flesh united. This is a great secret, but I speak about the anointed and the convocation, plus also ye, every one of you. Let each effectually love his own woman as himself. Also the woman should effectually love her own husband, in order that she may fear the husband. As seen here in 1 Keph 3:2. having witnessed your clean behaviour done within fear. The fear being phobos, from which comes phobia, remaining the best translation of what includes reverence, respect, deference and awe. These are things we are to feel for Yahweh, just as women for their husbands. So yep. So anyway, yep, we read that. And for that one, so now I want to go over to stuff to get out of here. Gotta go to Corinthians. Corinthians, where are we? Sorry, 1 second. Oh, there we go. 2 Corinthians. I want 1 Corinthian. 1 Corinthian. And I want verses 11. Chapter 11. Sorry, give me 1 moment to get to chapter 11. Well, my mouse is playing funny buggers. Where is it going? Oh, that's my mouse over there. Okay. Right, so chapter 11, verses 3. Can you know? Whoa, there's a video playing. Sorry about that. Video decided to start playing on song. It's a good distraction. 4, 5, 6, 11. Still going. 7. Sorry, people. 8. Banish not in order that I may throw a nose upon you towards your well formation and ministering well to Yahweh without a worldly distraction. Oh wow. Just as I was trying to find what I found, I was stopped at verse 35. But I say this towards your own advantage, not in order that I may throw a nose upon you, rather towards your well formation and ministering well to Yahweh without a worldly distraction. But if anyone thinks to behave inappropriately for his virginity, if he is beyond his prime and thus is ought to be, let him do what he wills. If he does not sin, let them marry. Oh well, okay. Anyway, that's not what I'm after. Right, chapter 11, but yeah, it just caught my attention as I was scrolling through. 10, we're almost there. 10, come on, where's 11? 11:3. Alright, so verse 3. 1 Corinthians chapter 1. But I wish you to discern that since the head of every husband is the anointed one, and the head of the woman is the husband, and the head of the anointed one is the power. Every man praying or predicting, having something on over his head, puts his head to shame. Predicating, having something on or over his head, puts his head to shame. Oh, that's good, because I was just asking a friend about that. I said, is it good to cover your head or not? I said, I forgot. There's my answer. Oh, that was lovely. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, I hope you liked that video, and I hope you liked a little bit of explanation about love and respect. And we shall end the video there. If I can find out where that is. Somewhere amongst all these pages I got open. Here we are. So yeah, anyway, thank you for coming to the channel. Remember to subscribe, and Yahweh bless. Yahweh bless.